St. Louis Christmas Carols Association, next on City Corner. Hi, I'm Sarah Thompson and welcome to City Corner. Well, the holiday season is upon us and St. Louis could certainly use some uplifting and some good cheer. And so it only made sense to bring our friends from the St. Louis Christmas Carols Association in studio to talk about what they have in store for the 2022 caroling season and just to get into the details of the program and the work that they do year-round, but really for the past 111 years. I'm joined by the Executive Director, Dr. Elizabeth Hogan. I will call you Elizabeth, though.
Thank you so much.
But want to acknowledge the doctor there. So thank you so much for being here, and happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you too. we got through some holidays, and we have many more to go, and we're really excited about this holiday season.
I know. It's always so interesting when I interview with nonprofits. Everyone's got their busy season. You know, it's like the end of the fiscal year. This would be your busy season, is that right?
This is a wild season for us, but it's really the prime time. November is when we have Christmas in our hearts and minds in the Christmas Carols Association office, because it's when we're recruiting volunteers for the upcoming holiday season. And caroling really takes place between Thanksgiving and Christmas for us. So that's when most of the coordinating of caroling that we do takes place.
Okay, so I was going to ask you that. We've got a lot of great photos, thanks to you and your team for sending over some great photos that we're going to show up so people see that. But when we talk about this caroling season, I mean, you hear a lot in the performing arts world, your 22-23 season. You have a caroling season. You just described the time frame, so that starts now?
Yeah, it starts very soon. Right now on our website, we are signing up folks who want to be volunteers and take groups out caroling in the St. Louis region. But we also have another vein of work that we do with our Kingsbury Place singers, and they're in rehearsals right now. They're a costumed caroling group that goes out into the community each year to do private bookings and special events. We also have a couple different special projects that we're working on, collaborations with various nonprofits in the St. Louis region. So those are special things that we're putting on as well. So there's lots going on in our office. It's a really joyful time.
So wait, what happens in your office after New Year's Eve, after New Year's Day? Everyone goes on vacation.
Everybody goes home and sleeps a lot. No, we have work to do to wrap up the season. And actually, for me, that's the best part. That is when we process all of the donations that we have received throughout the year. But what we do with the money that we receive is that we turn that around to nonprofits in the St. Louis region that are working with kids and offer them grants. So my favorite part of the season is what I aim to have happen on Valentine's Day, which is to write grant checks to all of the nonprofits that are going to use that money to help kids in the St. Louis region.
Well, I want to dig into that because there's an interesting component of how the charitable aspect really came about many, 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 many years ago. So we're going to get into that later in the show. Great. But let's talk about first, and then we've got some video to show in just a few seconds. But I want to talk about this process. You mentioned you go on your website and volunteer, but you're calling for volunteers right now. Who it would be in volunteer? Anyone? Are we looking at students all the way up to, just tell me a bit more about the process, who you want to kind of come out and participate in the caroling.
Great. Right now, we are calling for volunteers, and we hope to have people join us who are of any age. We have volunteers going out to carol who are being held by their moms and dads. We have volunteers who have been with our organization for over 70 years, which is incredible to me. But we have this breadth of experience in the St. Louis community that is all just excited to do good for kids. That's the only requirement. We spread cheer, and we're doing work to get funding for those local nonprofits. So anybody can volunteer with us. You don't have to be an expert singer. I had a friend ask me about volunteering yesterday, and she said, I don't sing very well. I said, it sounds to me like you'd be really good at holding the collection can. You have a great smile. You're really good at engaging with other people. I think you'd be perfect at that. Or maybe you'd be a great group leader because you could get a group of friends together, sign up on the website and be the coordinator. And then you can recruit somebody else who feels comfortable singing. So not everybody has to be an expert musician, but I have a vision for all of St. Louis being carolers in the holiday season, that anybody who wants to come and sing and spread joy and spread cheer can go out with a smile on their face and brighten people's day with a little song, and then know that in the end, what they're raising money for is also going toward a great cause.
Yeah, no, I think it is. I love when I was just reading all the material. It just does give you that warm, fuzzy feeling of just like bringing the community, and again, like bringing the community together and celebrating. And the holidays is a great time to do that. So we're kind of talking about all this stuff. You've put together a nice video. We're going to look at this video. This is kind of a montage of photos that really describe what Elizabeth, or reflect what Elizabeth has just described, which is how the community can come together and volunteer to carol. So let's take a look.
Caroling, caroling, we're caroling in St. Louis. Caroling, caroling, we're caroling in St. Louis. The joy we share as we join and sing, our Christmas cheer and the love we bring. We're caroling in St. Louis. We're caroling in St. Louis. We sing of joy and the snow that falls, of lights and bows as we deck the halls. We shop for gifts and we fill the malls, till we find the greatest gift of all. Deck the halls with boughs of holly, fa la 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 la. Caroling, caroling, we're caroling in St. Louis. Caroling, caroling, we're caroling in St. Louis. We sing of hope and of peace on earth, songs of faith and the baby's birth. Our love came down on that silent night and brought to earth a holy light. Joy to the world, the Lord is come. We're caroling, caroling, we're caroling in St. Louis. Caroling, caroling, we're caroling in St. Louis. The joy we share as we join and sing, of Christmas cheer and the love we bring. We're caroling in St. Louis. We're caroling in St. Louis. We're caroling, caroling, we're caroling in St. Louis. Caroling, caroling, we're caroling in St. Louis.
All right, that's a nice video. It's catchy, caroling in St. Louis. It is what it is, but it's a nice little jingle there. That do you sing that? Is that song sung every year?
It is.
Is it?
Yeah, we sing that at one of our gathering meetings with our key volunteers each year.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, since I've taken the helm as executive director, it has been the season of COVID, so we haven't met in person yet. I've met several of the volunteers that are key volunteers, but we've not had a large group meeting, which is where they used to sing that song.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So this will be it was during COVID. I did see online you did some during COVID virtual kind of Zoom almost caroling.
We
Is that kind
did.
of what it was? Yeah.
Yes, the interim executive director before I came on, Lynn, had this great idea to pivot and do virtual caroling telegrams. And so our volunteers pooled together and they made little videos that could be sent out with a donation. They were sent out to various people around the world, actually. These telegrams went around the world. And we were still able to raise a good chunk of money for the nonprofits that we work with that year, even though we couldn't go out caroling at all.
That's awesome.
In 2020.
That's very clever. That's actually very clever.
I thought it was genius. And I can say that because it wasn't my idea. And then last year we still did in-person caroling, but we went masked and we only did caroling outside. And we felt like that was the best way to honor and keep our volunteers and the people in the community safe. We're really hoping for regular caroling this year. So we're getting back to a spirit of cheer and being able to be in person and exchange that energy and that excitement in a face-to-face realm.
No, it is very exciting. So signing up, so we saw in the photos, I mean, as you mentioned, all different age groups. You saw some in the Girl Scout troops in there, different things. So you go online, and I know you have this, it's click 1, 2, 3, it's pretty easy, but you have locations that are already set that people can sign up, or how does it go from there?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So I like to say that we are playing matchmaker for carolers in St. Louis. So people can come on our website, and if they already know a place where they want to go caroling, there's the first button on that Go Caroling page says carol in your own neighborhood.
Okay.
And if you know where you want to go, or you just want to go up and down your street, you can sign up there and tell us where you're going. We would love to know where we can find you. But then the rest of the buttons on that page are all sites around the St. Louis area that we have worked with to provide specific caroling times that might be available. So those are anywhere from fresh time markets around the St. Louis region, the Boulevard in Richmond Heights, Colonial Marketplace. We have Soulard Market. They've been a long time caroling place. Keener Plaza for the Winterfest, and various others. So hopefully by doing that, if people, we have some volunteers who have mobility issues and they don't want to walk around the neighborhood anymore because it's hard for them. So they can find a spot. Or if you have a group of young kids, sometimes it's hard to herd the cats around the neighborhood. So they can always find a stationary spot to be able to share that cheer.
That's great. And then and you've got your group singing, and then really the collections come about, which is somebody is collecting donations during that time, right?
That's right.
That's where all the money's raised. And you've raised a lot of money over the years.
We have. We've raised over $3 million over the years. But in the most recent several years, last year we raised $27,000 for nonprofits in the St. Louis region. And then that COVID year, they raised $20,000 as well.
Wow.
Our goal this year, though, is to double what we raised last year. That would get us back up to where we were in 2019. So we'd love to have 222 caroling groups go out into the community in 2020. Or 2022. So 222 caroling groups in 2022, and we're hoping to raise $66,000.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And then specifically the charities that you give that money to focus on, they're charities in St. Louis, nonprofits that work with children. Is that correct?
That is correct. Everyone who applies for funding through us, the application is open to any nonprofit that is doing that work, and the application deadline is September 30th for the coming holiday year. So that's already passed, but certainly nonprofits could keep that in mind for the future. And so once we receive those applications, we review them to make sure that the proposed use of the money is really serving as many kids as possible. And so then we can decide how much we're able to grant each of those nonprofits based on how much we raise each year.
I see. I see. Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, if you are listening to this and you have a singing voice, or even if you don't have a singing voice, but you want to get involved in the community and raise some money for children's charities, we've got the information there for you right on the screen. It's St. Louis Christmas Carols Association. I feel like I want to go out and sing now. This is great.
I hope you do.
Spreading cheer and supporting children's charities. It's really, what I love about this too is it's such a simple concept, but so much to it and such a good way to raise money. More information, stlchristmascarols.org, and the number there on your screen. You can reach out to them, and this is all the social media, all the handles if you want to follow on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and check out some of the cool videos on YouTube. But we're going to learn more about, you heard Elizabeth mention the Kingsbury Place Singers, and also the history, 111 years. We're going to get into all that when we come back. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back after this. Stay with us.
There's so many reasons to love St. Louis, you can't pick just one.
What I love about St. Louis is the 79 unique neighborhoods and 108 beautiful city parks, including Forest Park, which is actually larger than Central Park in New York, and the gorgeous Tower Grove Park right here.
And there's always something new to experience, no matter the time of day or the season.
So come and experience St. Louis.
Voices?
Like your text to emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies.
Selfie.
Nailed it.
We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Craig, come on man, let's put a ride home.
It takes less than 1 minute to find out if you may have prediabetes, and you can do it here. So what are you waiting for? Just go to the site.
What I love about St. Louis is the 79 unique neighborhoods nestled into 108 city parks, including Forest Park, which is actually larger than Central Park in New York, and of course, the beautiful Tower Grove Park where I'm at now. Oh, the St. Louis Blues. We've got the St. Louis Surge, two-time WBCBL champions. We've got Harris Stowe, WashU, St. Louis University, and of course, the 11-time World Series champion, St. Louis Cardinals. So come experience St. Louis.
If you smoked, this new lung cancer screening could save your life. Visit SaveByTheScan.org.
There's so many reasons to love St. Louis, you can't pick just one. From the arts, architecture, and culture. Cortex Community Center. And you're never too far from great music and entertainment.
So come and experience St. Louis.
I'm Sarah Thompson, and welcome back to City Corner. Today we're talking with the St. Louis Christmas Carols Association, and I'm joined by the Executive Director, Dr. Elizabeth Hogan, who I'm calling Elizabeth again for this segment. But thank you again for being here. I want to follow up on, we closed the first segment talking about the sort of charitable component and the money raised. You have two partnerships that you're doing this year that are unique to the 22 season. Do you want to talk a bit more about that?
You know, we're working to incorporate more carolers into our midst. And so to do that, we really want to make it accessible for people to both pick up their caroling supplies from us and also to turn in those caroling donations in a helpful way that's convenient for people. So we've partnered with Commerce Bank and Gundaker Realty. So Commerce Bank will accept all of the cans, the caroling cans at the end of the season. Oh. And so there's 10 sites around the St. Louis region, and they will process that can for us and make sure that your money goes back into the pot to be those grants for those nonprofits in the St. Louis region. And if people are interested in caroling, the Gundaker Realty sites, 12 of them around the St. Louis region, are going to be easy places to pick up your caroling supplies. So good. We're really glad to have help this year in distributing and collecting all of those things, in addition to the amazing volunteers that have done that for us for many years.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's a good partnership. Makes sense when the money's collected, have it dropped off, and more locations. That's really interesting. Yeah, you have this 111 years. I mean, you know, when everyone says that they're celebrating there's a lot of organizations that have hit their centennial around town, but this is really interesting because I think, and we're going to show some B-roll, tell me a bit about the history, because it started off really just as let's carol around St. Louis over 100 years ago, and it's turned into a full-fledged 501c3. Talk a bit about the history, and we're going to show some, there we go, some of the old photos. Yeah.
So the St. Louis Christmas Carols Association started 111 years ago when a group of businessmen and their families decided they wanted to go out and go caroling in their neighborhood here in St. Louis. And one of those families was the family of William Danforth. And so the Danforth family has supported us as members of our board and very active carolers over many years, including Don Danforth III, who's still our board chairman. But many families over the years have gotten together and gone caroling. And so from those humble beginnings of just friends who wanted to get out into the neighborhood and sing, it has grown over the years to incorporate all of the pieces of caroling that we do now. There have been various projects over the years, including, you know, in the 70s, there was a series of concerts of caroling groups and choirs from around the region that would get together and do shows each year. There were also a series of albums released of Christmas music. It's been fascinating to dig into the history. And I'll be honest, I've been with the organization for a year now, and I feel like I'm just scratching the surface. Often when I call volunteers, they will share stories on the phone of their experiences caroling over many, many years. And so I'm still in a learning process about that. And I love that aspect of this organization, that it is both relevant to today and has a very deep history. From what I know, it's the only Christmas caroling organization in the country. So it is uniquely St. Louis. And we know how St. Louis likes our special items and activities and our little quirks. And this to me is the ultimate St. Louis quirk.
That's
the Christmas Carols Association.
You know, you bring up an interesting that it's probably something a unique nonprofit that's the only one. That's really, I didn't realize that it's own, but no, and great archive photos too. I mean, when I was on your site looking at everything, and as we just checked out, a lot of historical photos there. So you have an event coming up that kind of harkens back to, I guess, the 70s era. Tell me a bit more about that.
Oh, I love this. So this year, we are partnering with the Missouri History Museum to present a show on December 8th as part of their Thursday series in the holiday season. Aaron Bodie will join us. And there's a little bit of a story behind how we came to brainstorm this idea. Last year, I was working on doing some giveaways online on our social media, and I was looking back through the old records that we had in the office, and I thought, oh, I'll give away one of these records as an online bonus. It's a vinyl record, and it was from, I believe, 1974, if I'm remembering correctly, and it has it's a red album with a scene of St. Louis on the front. I've learned more about this album over time, but I flipped it over and realized it was in an old radio show format. There were choirs from all over St. Louis and musical acts from all over St. Louis that were sharing carols. There were community dignitaries and well-known folks from public space that were presenting the readings in that sort of lessons and carols or radio show format. Including the St. Louis football Cardinals singing a rousing rendition of "We Wish You a Merry Christmas." I thought this album was so charming when I played it. And I said this over and over again, what would this project look like if it were in the modern times? Who would be the artists that would participate in this particular project? And I mentioned it to one of our volunteers, and she said, you know who would be great for that? Erin Bodie. Erin is loved by St. Louis, and she would be somebody who would be incredible at that. Well, I got a text message from this particular volunteer 3 days later, which was Christmas Eve. And Erin had posted a photo of this album on her social media. And she said, I grew up listening to this album when I didn't live in St. Louis, when I lived in Minnesota. And I have always envisioned what it would be like.
No way, the same album?
Yes.
Wow.
And so I sent her a message. I internet stalked her and sent her a message on social media and said, would you ever be interested in thinking about what this might look like with us? And so she called me back within 5 minutes, and we have this shared vision of making something like that happen here in St. Louis. So, this first project, this December 8th project, is us inviting artists from around the St. Louis region. We have a comedian joining us. We have some local celebrities joining us that evening, and it's going to be a really neat event. We also have artwork that is inspired by that original design on that album. Originally, it was done by an artist in the region who had won a contest. We have invited her daughter, who's also a graphic designer, to re-envision the artwork for this album and for that evening on December 8th.
Oh, that's great.
It's this beautiful nexus of ideas. It's almost like this idea just wants to be born into our city. And so we're calling it a gift to St. Louis.
Oh, that's really neat. I can only imagine what, for you, obviously, here you are, you're with, your music education background and teaching and leading choirs and music education, and what that conversation with Erin, like a brainstorm with Erin Bodie. Oh my gosh, that would have been, that would have been great. That sounds really exciting. I'm sure people can head to, and we'll be sure to get the information up on the full screen graphic, because I'm sure on your website you'll have the details, and on Facebook. Yes. I want to bring up to, you mentioned earlier, the Kingsbury Place Singers.
Yes.
And so, talk a bit more about this, and then we're going to show a clip of the music, because this is the costumed choir. Talk a bit about the Kingsbury Place Singers.
Absolutely. So 12 years ago, my predecessor, Joan Kuntz, she realized they were getting lots of calls from around the region for folks who wanted to have carolers come to their special event. Private events, corporate events, things like that. She was just getting a lot of calls in the office. And so she and her husband, they were both music educators as well. They envisioned this group of people who would be costumed carolers, who would have prepared music and could go out into the community. They're all volunteer. And all of the money that they raise, again, comes back to the grants for nonprofits. But they come out in either costumes or ugly sweaters or whatever attire you would hope for them to wear for your event. But you can book them on an hourly basis, and they'll come out and perform for you and spread cheer in a more organized way than some of our volunteer caroling groups that are stationed around St. Louis.
Yeah, well, let's take a look. We've got a video of the Kingsbury Place Singers singing Deck the Halls. So let's take a look.
Tis the season to be jolly. Don we now our gay apparel. Draw the ancient Yuletide carols. See the blazing Yule chorus. Strike the heart and join the chorus. Follow me in merry measure. While I tell of Yuletide treasure. Bless the way the old dear passes.
Oh, there we go. So that's when they're in the Victorian era costumes, but you said they also do an ugly sweater version.
They will show up however you need them to show up, but typically it is in those Victorian era costumes, yes.
Yeah, well, before we wrap up the show in a couple minutes, we're going to show one more clip of that. I did read that you do a concert, not a concert, but you have high school students also sing for the mayor, is that right?
Yes, in addition to just the general volunteering caroling that we have going on, we have some special partnerships, and one of those is a really beautiful tradition that has occurred each year. We kick off the holiday season by caroling for the mayor and the board of aldermen. And typically for decades, it has been the choir from Rosati Kane High School. So this is going to be a really special year for them to come and share with the mayor.
Yeah, I saw, I think it's from the 50s on your site. It's a photo where it was, alluding to what you just did. And I saw that it's a tradition that continues on. So this is really neat stuff. I mean, what are you most, as we wrap things up, like looking forward to, I guess, for this holiday season, this caroling season?
My favorite thing about this organization and getting to witness so many bits of it around our city is watching people both feel the cheer of the holiday season, surrounded by lights and decor as they're sharing their songs, feeling the joy of singing, the health benefits that come from that, and also connecting with other people, that they are able to share a sound wave with other people that literally touches someone else's ear and heart. And also to see those connections really fill up hurting people. There's a lot of people who are lonely in the holiday season. And I think we love the holiday season because of the cheer and joy, but also wrapped up in that, there is sometimes a lot of grief. And I am watching people who volunteer also are finding new ways to engage in new communities that maybe they feel like they're missing in other parts of their life. So watching caroling unfold that way has been really, really special to me in the past year and a half.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point, It's so interesting how we can all come together in different ways and what that means. And I think you've highlighted that. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me,
No,
Sarah.
this has been great. This has been really good. I think it's just what we need as a community. And if you want to get involved, we've got the information there for you on the screen. It's the St. Louis Christmas Carols Association. You can head to their website, stlchristmascarols.org, or call 314-863-1225. And quickly, there's their social media handles coming up. And I say that so quickly because I'd love to, and I'm speaking to our TDs behind the cameras, if we have time to close off with a video of the Kingsbury Place Singers singing Silent Night. And thank you for joining us. And Elizabeth, thank you for being here.
Thank you.